Happy Wednesday. One half of us knows what we're getting into tonight, and it ain't
I'm the
me.
half.
He's the half. We have a deep dive. If you're not familiar with what a deep dive episode is, this is our 465th episode. We've, on average, maybe a quarter of those are deep dives, if we're being generous. Maybe less than a quarter of those.
That's probably very generous, but yeah, something like that.
Chase and I have a few things that we cycle through from magazines, hardware, lists, etc., where we do a bit more of a, just as the name says, deep dive into a singular topic, where one of us tries to present something to the other one, and we have a great time with it. And tonight, Chase has a surprise, I believe, hardware show and tell that we're going to be getting into. So I'm looking forward to it. He's been teasing it this week. I think he's very excited to show me this thing. We're going to talk about at least one new game before we get into it, and that's a game I've been checking out this week. Maybe Chase will give us an update on one of the cool things he's got going on. But we are the Casual Hour. It is the 15th of April. Make sure your taxes are filed, you hooligans. I know it's a rough time to do that, and I know we feel like we shouldn't, but you got to, because the consequences...
It's also apparently Leonardo da Vinci's birthday, which I randomly found out today.
Huh. Happy birthday, Leo.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to get into it tonight. We've got some fun stuff planned for you. This has been a really banger week for me, Chase. Two games that I have been highly anticipating come out this week, and one of those came out yesterday. It is called Replaced. If you go back to the surprise wheel spin I gave you at Game of the Year, where I had like 6 games that I was like, hey, I'm probably equally excited about all these. Two of those names.
Yeah, like you're Bobby B's. You're equally excited about everything.
Two of those games are here this week, and the first one is Replaced. And I'd love to tell you a little bit more about it because you joined
Replaced by what?
Replaced by AI.
Too real.
It's too real. And this is 1985.
Tell me about Replaced.
Well, you and I got a very, very small slice during the Next Fest where we saw a demo of this. And I think we were both very interested in what this side-scrolling, beautiful pixel art beat-em-up was really trying to do. And this came out from Sad Cat Studios on the 14th. It sets you back, I believe, $20. There's a Steam demo as of the time of this recording. I think it's on everything: Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, PC. And as Chase was joking with me here, the game's called Replaced. You are exposing the sinister secrets of the Phoenix Corporation as Reach, an AI trapped in a human body. Set in an alternate 1980s America scarred by nuclear catastrophe, navigate a dark cyberpunk thriller in this narrative-driven 2.5D platformer. I think this is their
It's
first
only
game.
on PC and Xbox, by the way.
Okay. This was announced in like 2021, I think. So it's been around for a bit. We walked away from that demo impressed by what we saw, but concerned about like how they would scale this. Because again, they start you with a later game gun. The combat is very flashy, of course, but it's like, well, what's the meat here? What's happening? And I'm happy to report that this thing has much longer legs than I thought it would. And I think they did a disservice on how they introduce you to the world and the combat, because
with the demo,
you
mean?
Yep.
Okay.
In the real game, there's a very cool narrative setup, like one of the cooler openings I've had in a game in a while, of just like, this is the world, this is what's fucked up, this is what's going on, run. And like you go through all this stuff and you end up after the prologue ends right where the demo begins. So like that was helpful context, but they give you a gun that doesn't function, but these guns transform and it turns into a baton. And so like you start with just the baton, and that's like your finisher that you have. So they early on teach you the mechanics of like watching moves and patterns, and you get really good at dodging what you should dodge and parrying. And that makes it feel, the combat felt immediately 50% better for me after, like, from the demo. So I was like, oh my God, this feels great. Like the camera swings lined up with how I was playing it. The thunks and the weight of everything really just all came together in a really awesome cinematic type package. They introduced like two on one, and then I got surrounded. There was like 8 enemies, and it was like Arkham City peak, just like going between everybody, fucking shit up. It was incredibly rewarding. Hang on, I'm like coughing. I'm so excited about it.
That's how
But
excited he is about this game, ladies and
yes,
gentlemen. He's
I'm like
getting
out
all
of breath.
choked up just talking about it.
But this game is way more focused on some like stealth and then even puzzle mechanics. And in between all of this, it really kind of feels like a point and click adventure game. Like I keep thinking about oh my god, Norco. Yeah, Norco.
Yeah.
And just like not only the pixel art, but the tone and maturity of it. Because you kind of get fetch quests in a way. Like you go into this area and it's like, hey, this person's trying to let you know where the enemy is. They have a telescope, the lens is cracked, and they know somebody in the encampment has a working pair of binoculars that they could take parts out of to fix this to help us like see what's going on. But apparently there's like alleged a very weird girl who's into arcade games that has the binoculars that will only give them to her best friend. So you have to figure out, what does that mean to be her best friend? Well, you have to do this for her. You have to beat the high score on this arcade game that's not working. So you have to fix her arcade machine. And you go and explore the city and you find these parts and you can bring them back to her and you get to play the arcade game and get the high score. And it's like, get this to go and do this thing, learn a little bit about what happened. You're scanning all this stuff in the environment, reading about the catastrophe, seeing how people are living in this world. And all that comes together of just like the mechanics of like this very visceral atmosphere that you're in, this incredibly slick combat system, far deeper lore about the world that they're living in than I anticipated, and some cool character building that you get to do along the way. Like your AI and you as a human kind of interfacing together and talking through shit. Very impressive so far, but I'm blown away, quite frankly, by what I'm seeing here.
So when we were playing the demo, it did, to your point, it did seem it was a lot more combat heavy, and I imagine a lot of that is just, hey, we're a demo on Steam during the Next Fest. We're trying to get people's attention. I have to imagine if the two of us are doing a casual Monday for that, and we're doing the part where we have to go and put parts back into or go find the parts for an arcade machine, and we're playing this for 15 minutes on the next on our stream, we'd probably go, I don't know about this one. Like, I understand why you front load the combat in the demo, but it sounds like the game is much more balanced in putting all of those different elements together.
Yeah, there's a lot of just like walking around talking to people, and that's cool because the way that this world works, like you're scrolling through these like sewers and like these really dilapidated buildings, and there's so much depth in like the 2.5D mechanic. Like you're gonna be running and there might be a column with like a really kick-ass like cyberpunk poster and like graffiti, and it feels like you're moving in the story, like you're part of this very cinematic experience. There's a really cool analog quality to this game, also being in the 80s, where it feels very much like retro tech, but yet they have AIs and there's rogue shit happening and the technology is far more advanced. And I think that's really cool. Like the only thing it's missing is people sitting like neon signs eating noodle bowls, like it's going for that
Sure.
whole vibe. But yeah, it is slower in that regard.
How open is something like this? Like when we're talking about like adventure games like Norco or even something more traditional like Monkey Island, the thing that comes to mind is, going back and forth between areas a lot, or going and finding a thing, bringing it back to a place, and just having that ability to always keep moving. But when I think about more narrative driven games, and I guess adventure games are narrative driven, but like
Yeah.
I think about something like an Inside, which I
Mm-hmm.
feel like this game also has a little bit of DNA of,
Yeah.
and maybe it's just that it's a side scroller to me, but is this a game that is just kind of pushing you forward the whole time, and maybe like here's a little hub where you have to go and find four things for the arcade machine, but then you just keep going? Or is this something more like Norco where you are coming back to the same places quite often?
That's a great question. I haven't progressed the game far enough to really. I'm kind of at the first big area where I'm just walking around a whole lot, and so I don't want to call it a hub, but because it doesn't feel like it's a hub,
Mm-hmm.
at least for like where I'll come back and get missions. But it's very much a spot that I'm having to go around a lot in. So like you'll come across an archway. It's like, hey, enter this, and you'll go in and you'll talk to a few people, and you can go into these like subsets of where this area is. and there's layers where you might see a staircase and you can go to a lower level of it. So they do some cool tricks there, but largely I don't think it's like a Metroidvania or a big open world. I think you're going to be moving because you're kind of on the run, and time is of the essence on certain things. So I feel like you have this momentum, but you're at this point where it's like, I'm going to breathe for a minute because I just got done being chased by a bullet train sniper. I just escaped after, and the cops have all like been attacking everyone. So it feels very police state right now. And they're much at like, I'm fighting thugs and cops equally. So like, I'm kind of a cipher in a way of just like moving through all of this. It feels like right now, which feels really cool.
When you've been doing the combat, has it felt like, because again, in that demo, they gave you a later game weapon with some later game ideas. When you're going back through that kind of area, but now playing the for real game, or do you feel like, I feel so hamstrung here because I don't have those other options from that, or is because the combat is so much more downplayed or balanced throughout the whole game that you aren't really missing the extra mechanics that later game weapon gave you from the demo?
I think what it's really forcing you to do is like, you just need to read your combatants in a way. Like they want you to focus a lot on, there's going to be a guy that's going to always try and like tackle you. There's going to be another guy that's always trying to shoot you. And you need to balance like parrying versus those. And so I feel like the game's just trying to like slow you down to learn how it wants you to engage in these crowds, because it is crowd control. And then it's going to give you stuff to flourish and really maybe take down some tougher variants of these folks. Because right now my baton makes me feel pretty badass. Like I can clock somebody upside the head, dizzy them, go to the next person, and then come back and finish them when they're ready. And it's been really cool so far. Like I appreciate it a hell of a lot more this way than I did in that demo.
Cool. And how much time do you think you have into it so far?
I have, I think somewhere between like 2 and 3 hours.
Okay.
And I think the game is 8 to 9 hours on how long to beat. Let me double check. My playtime for this is hour and a half. So I thought it was a little bit more because it had my demo count on there, but hour and a half of this so far. So I picked that up, and then tomorrow Mouse PI and Pragmata come out, so I'll be playing those as well.
Yeah, I think from just the review stuff that I'm seeing, I think you're probably going to end up liking Pragmata more than Mouse PI. I've been hearing some kind of mixed things on Mouse. Unfortunately,
I have too. I'm very excited for
maybe
Pragmata.
We'll dig it.
Yeah, man. So that's replaced. It's very good, and you should check it out if you're into those gritty noir cyberpunk worlds. I think there's a lot to enjoy about what it's doing, and it's also just very flashy and good combat. A lot of style. Any updates for you on the stuff you got going on?
Yeah, I'm still just playing Monster Hunter. It's
you are.
Playing a lot of it.
Yeah, baby.
I'll let you know. I played 7 hours of it yesterday, and then I played another 3.5 hours today. I'm in the final area. I know that. I've almost got all the mutated monsters at this point. I think I saw it goes 85% done in my Monsterpedia.
Who's your favorite one right now?
I'm collecting them. Like it's been. I think I still have all the same highs and lows that I've mentioned before, and it's just that those highs and lows keep happening. I still think I prefer Monster Hunter Stories 2, and in some ways, even the first game to this game, while still appreciating some of the new things that this game is doing. I have found the combat to be more fun as I am getting more options, and especially now that I am getting, at one point when you first kind of start the game, you're trying to get, okay, well, you have a team of 6, and one of them's a power guy already. That's your Rathalos that is locked to you from a story perspective. You can't take it out of your party. So you have 6, but you have these 3 different types of attacks: the power, the speed, and the technical. So you're like, okay, I probably just need 2 of each. I get 2 of each monster, and then when I'm going up against enemies and you're doing the rock, paper, scissors combat, okay, I've got a couple rocks, I've got a couple scissors, I've got a couple pieces of paper here. I'll be fine. And you are at the beginning. And as you go further into the game, and this was true about the second game at least, and I believe the first game too, you'd be able to give your monster these different genes and use the
Mm-hmm.
gene swappers to put in different attacks or different buffs. Just slot those things in, and then you get even bigger bonuses for having, it's they call it the bingo system, but it's like a grid of 9 things, and if you have 3 across that are all technical skills or technical genes, you get a buff to your technical attack. Or if you get elemental stuff, these are technical, but these are also thunder.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 3 thunder technical things across, and that means I get both a boost to my thunder attacks, thunder elemental attacks, and to my technical attacks. So when you're making these bingo boards, you're trying to think about, okay, how can I min max a little bit, but also how can I mix and match? And that's been one of the nicer things now that I'm in this late game and I've got so many genes and I've gotten monsters up to higher levels where they unlock even better genes that I can then take from a monster and put on a different one. Or that's when you go find the eggs that are, quote unquote, highly potent, that will have they start with super high level skills on them, and then you can take those
Is
off and put them on anybody.
is there like when you're doing the gene work, is there always something that you move no matter what? Like, is there a gene that you put on all your monsties?
No, I wouldn't say there's one that I always do, because you do get to the point of like, okay, this guy is going to be mostly yellow
Mm-hmm.
stuff, yellow genes. I'm going to use the thunder attack stuff on this guy. So he's like my thunder attacker. I'm going to put all the yellow ones that I've got, and I'm going to line them up in some way. There are certainly really good ones, and sometimes you'll go, okay, I don't need the bingo because I would rather just have health boost large, and that's like a non-elemental one that's just gray. And gray also works if you put 3 gray ones together. That gives you a boost to your non-elemental damage. But okay, hey, that's going to screw up my thunder boosts here, but the health boost is so big that I'd
Sure.
like to have it on that guy. So there are some where it's like, oh, inflict status is one that I really like, because I've got a couple monsties that are specifically like, hey, this guy has an attack that makes them bleed. He also has an attack that puts them to sleep. He also has attack that poisons them. And you can stack those things. So like I've put all the inflict level up stuff on him, and now he can, one turn they bleed, one turn they poison, and now I put
Sure.
him to sleep, and now you can just kind of keep that going. So you can make some pretty nasty combinations. And also when you're making those combinations, you can put different types of attacks in those bingo boards. So even though I've got, maybe a few speed guys on my team, some of those speed guys have technical attacks on them. So I can still force them to use, or I can order them to use a technical attack when I need to use one. And I
Sure.
don't always just have to have, okay, here's my technical, here's my 2 technicals, here's my 2 speeds, here's my 2 powers. And
Makes
that's been
sense.
nice too, to be able to blend a little bit more of the team. There's
Have you?
also, as we talked about off air, there's like the HM style system of, hey, you can ride the monsties, and
Mm,
some of them fly, and some of them climb up things, and some of them dig down, and some of them swim, and you kind of want to have all those things available to you so you can explore the whole map as much as possible. So it has been nice to get more options as you're going in and go, okay, well, I don't need a technical swimmer here. I can get any swimmer and just make sure that they have technical attacks, because I still need to have that for when those things come up in the game.
do you have a
So
favorite
that's been
monster
nice.
right now?
Like, do what?
Do you have a favorite?
A favorite monstie? It's always been my favorite one, but I'm a Rathian guy. Like I've always
Sure.
loved just the Rathian. I think it's kind of a bummer that these games always give you Rathalos at the beginning, because the monstie I always like is the Rathian, which is kind of just like a green, more poison form of Rathalos, and it feels weird to have 2 of basically the same monster. They both fly. They both are fire elements.
They
It's just that one is a speed type and one is power type. But that Dread Queen Rathian that you can mutate
mhm.
in this game, like that's the one that has been, those have been my number 1 and number 2 guys every time. It's the Rathalos that you start with, and my Dread Green Rathian, and everybody else is kind of up for grabs. I think there's some really useful one. The canine is just so useful because it not only can climb, it can dig, which a lot of monsties do one or the other. But this guy can do both, so he's just really useful, and he gets a ton of really great attacks. That was something they added in Monster Hunter Stories too, and it kind of, I won't say it broke the game, but it did. You're like, oh, these things are fucking awesome. I should just use those things.
They're great.
They're really good. You can and kind of the cheat thing is that they're not monsters that you can fight in the world because they don't want you killing the cool dog. But they're ones that you can just find eggs of in the world, so you can find enough eggs and get very good ones from that. But,
hell yeah. Well,
it's been fun. I think I've got like one area or one part of one area left that will give me the last few monsters that I need, which are going to be like the Tigrex, the normal Rathalos is going to be there, and then you can get to the Azure Rathalos, that's the blue one, and then there's like a even more special Rathalos that you can get after that from a mutation. So there's still a handful that I need to get left, but we're going to see how this game wraps up. The story stuff has been interesting. Oh, and I did mention this to you on text, but I wanted to mention to the audience too. As you do the side quests for your companions, they will get stronger. They will get some new things. They will give you some new recipes or things like that as well. But also they continue to level up over the course of the story normally. Like when you get to a new area, maybe one will have a new weapon. So it'll still be the same weapon type. Like this one uses the gun lance, and they're still going to use the gun lance, but now they have a gun lance that is like the fire element instead of the lightning element. And so that can be nice to have, to see their progression that way. When you progress in their side quests, though, they will get to a point where they get a second weapon, which is really cool. So you can switch them to go, hey, I don't want you to be on the fire gun lance anymore. I want you to be on this water katana. That might be more useful to me at this juncture. And I'm like, okay, that's nice that you had those options. And now I just found out from this last session that I played is when you finish a side quest, or finish their whole side quest line, that each of your companions will also get a second monstie, which is also pretty cool to see. Who's going to be in their party. I didn't get the second one for our best girl. I got caught up doing a different thing, but I will find out what her second monstie is. Do what?
Did you like the second monstie they got?
I haven't seen hers yet. I've only seen it for
the other person.
I only saw it for Thea, and it was okay. Like it's one that I just fought in the story, and he's like a big monkey guy. And I was like, he's fine, whatever.
All right,
but yeah.
Well,
so it's cool. I'm enjoying parts of that, and I'm looking forward to finishing that game. It seems like there's a whole lot of post game. You want to like find some big elder dragons and do some crazy stuff, and I don't think I'm gonna want to do a whole lot of that, but I am at least progressing quite a bit of the things that I can do right now. You'll at least
be ready for it if you decide to do it.
Probably, yeah. I probably will just be ready for it and have enough prepared if I did want to go and handle any of that.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Monster Hunter Stories 3, and then also we had Replaced, and now a mystery for me.
That's true. Yeah, Bobby, I've been teasing this for a little while now, and I've got this piece of hardware, and I will tell you, and I'm gonna keep it hidden right now for both our audio viewers and our video viewers, and from Bobby, just so I can have a little fun. But Bobby, I did hint to you on our Casual Monday kind of what this was by at least showing you that it was smaller than a notebook and that it was behind the notebook,
and that you don't know if I have this or had it.
I don't think I am not sure if you've ever owned one of these things.
Yep.
But I think you will know it when you see it, and I think you'll have stuff to talk about. So with those very tiny hints, do you have a guess of what I might be showing you today?
I think it's going to be an attachment that you use for another known thing. I think it's an accessory of or like a enhancer of something that is very well known, and I think it's probably a bit more obscure on it. I don't know why, but I keep thinking about the Game Boy camera.
I have a Game Boy camera. I was touching my Game Boy camera not a couple days ago as I was finding this thing.
Yep.
So you're on. I would not say you're on the right track exactly. You're partially correct.
Okay.
I'm going to give you one last hint and see if that helps.
Okay.
This piece of hardware, released March 27th, 1998 in Japan, and then released here in the States November 2nd, 1998. Does that help you at all? Can you think about 1998 and anything that was happening around then?
This is something to do with Pokemon.
That's a really solid guess.
So if it went in Japan first, I'm guessing that this has to do something with playing Pokemon on a non-Game Boy setup. And I think it's going to be something for the Nintendo 64. That
we've already done a transfer pack episode, haven't we? Didn't we already do the transfer pack for Stadium? It was a long time ago if we did.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Am I getting closer to what this thing is?
You should have stopped when you were ahead with Pokemon.
All right. What do we got?
How about I show you, and I want to get your reaction just for our audio listeners before, I'm gonna hold this thing up to the camera now, and I want to hear Bobby's first reaction to what this is. Right. Bobby, this is what we're going to be talking about tonight.
It's a Tamagotchi. It's a fucking it's a Pikachu Tamagotchi.
Yes, this is a Pokemon Pikachu, which is Nintendo's or Game Freak's or I guess there wasn't a Pokemon company at this time. They hadn't quite formalized that.
It would have been Game Freak, right?
It would have been Game Freak ownership, but Nintendo is the one who made this thing. Yes, we are talking about the Pokemon Pikachu device. It is a Tamagotchi. So you were right a little. We're also going to be talking about the Pokéwalker, which I also have as well. So that in that instance, you're a lot closer because that was a way to enhance your copy of Heart Gold Soul Silver. But this thing was a little bit separate. So yes, Bobby, did you ever own a Pokemon Pikachu?
No, I barely owned a Game Boy Color.
Yeah,
and I did not.
Well, I mean, you didn't have to have a Game Boy Color to have this, but
well, no, I'm just saying like. That I didn't have a whole lot of gaming on the go when I was a kid because Nintendo was at home. You have Nintendo at home. What are you doing with this?
Well, let me ask you this because you did mention it was a Tamagotchi, and it is basically a Tamagotchi. Did you ever have a Tamagotchi? You and I grew up around the same time, and so we had a lot of the same fads. Was that one that you ever experienced?
I had that, and then what were the Sega Dreamcast had a visual memory card that you could
the VMUs. Yeah,
you could bring something over from Sonic.
And your Chows, the Chow Garden.
Yeah, I had a Chow. So I had a Chow and I had a Tamagotchi is what I had.
Nice. Very cool. I owned a Tamagotchi. A neighbor bought it for me for my birthday, like a friend of the family. I never owned a Dreamcast. That's one of the few systems I've never owned. So I never had a VMU. I certainly did a whole lot of Chow Garden stuff on the on Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube. But yeah, so I wanted to talk about the Pokemon Pikachu. And to do that, yes, first we probably should talk a little bit more about Tamagotchis. So Tamagotchis were made in 1996 by Bandai. Bandai, the toy company, the Gundam people. They eventually would partner with Namco and merge with them. So Bandai Namco being, certainly maker of video games. Well, that was more of the Namco stuff, and Bandai was more of the toy stuff, and they've come together. But Tamagotchis came to the U.S. in 1997. Bobby, do you know what Tamagotchi means? I will tell you, it's a portmanteau. So it's like a compound word in Japanese. Yep. Do you know what the two words are?
Tamagotchi, I think it's something like pet care.
Not really.
Okay.
Tamago in Japanese is egg.
That's
and right. Uachi is a watch. So Tamagotchi, is like an egg watch. Yeah, because originally these things were made to go on your wrist, and then they decided to make them keychains instead at the last minute. But they liked the name, which is a little weird to me. I always thought this was a play off of Tomodachi, which means friend in Japanese. We just have like the Tomodachi Life that came out for the Switch. Tomodachi is friend. And maybe it is like maybe that's also a happy little accident. The Tamagotchi kind of sounds like Tomodachi, but you get the fun wordplay of Egg Watch in there as well. So that was the thing I didn't know as I was looking this stuff up. But for a Tamagotchi, the basic idea is that your Tamagotchi device would hold this egg, and you as the owner would raise that little guy into adulthood. You'd feed it, you'd play with it, you'd train it, and you'd keep like. Yeah, you clean up its poop, famously.
Yeah.
But the whole idea, and God, Bobby, I can't. You had to just be in heaven. It was all about managing meters. You just had to keep those meters up. Bobby loves a good survival game like that.
Not back then. That was like honestly kind of very late in life, but
yeah.
I liked I think I was very drawn just to the whole concept of creature collecting. And I thought it was cool that I had this digital thing that like I had to take care of. Like it felt very like for those of you who weren't around when they came out, like it felt pretty futuristic. Like the line was blurred of almost like you are in a real time, like keeping this thing sufficient. And that was kind of weird. Like
and there were stakes. Like there felt like real stakes to keeping this thing alive, because not only could this thing die, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the Tamagotchi creature would evolve a number of times over the course of you caring for it, and the resulting creature stages would be affected by how well you maintained those meters. And so most models also did include the ability for the pet to die if it was not taken care of, or some of them even had them die of old age, which of course would just have you start a new one on the same device. So you get a new egg and you do it all over again. But Tamagotchis were incredibly popular. They were actually originally exclusively marketed to teen girls in Japan, but they ended up kind of becoming this universal fad for everybody. But even as they were getting popular, just being sold to teen girls in Japan, Bandai was like, hey, these things seem pretty good. Maybe we could make a boy version of these too. And that is where we got the digital monster, which would become the basis of Digimon. Digimon came out of Tamagotchi. Did you know that?
I did not know that my Digimons came from Tamagotchi. So I've always been in a Digimon. I just didn't know it.
I knew that there were Digimon style Tamagotchis. I didn't know that is where Digimon came from. I guess I thought that Digimon was like in a Pokemon way was like a concept on its own, and then it got turned into these things. I didn't have the original digital monster device, but I did have the one. I had like an orange one that came with Agumon with blue buttons, and it looked more like the Digivice from the first anime. And that was like the second or third revision, I think, of the actual toy. And I remember having that and thinking it was the coolest fucking thing ever. But I did also have this Pokemon Pikachu, obviously, that I was showing you, and we'll be talking about that in a second. But Tamagotchis were a huge fad. They sold 40 million units worldwide for the toy's original run, and those numbers, like those are big enough numbers that even something like Pokemon, which was already a huge hit in 1998, and they're like, well, fuck, maybe we should do something with that, right? And so they did, and that is how we got the Pokemon Pikachu.
They were $18. I don't think I remember that, but they were $18.
Yeah, I mean they were relatively affordable, and you'd get a lot of use out of them, even if there wasn't a whole lot there. It was just. I remember I played the shit out of my Tamagotchi until at some point you go, oh, I'm kind of tired of playing with this anymore, and then you check in later and it's dead, and you go, oh, whoops.
Well, for anybody who's just looking at today's prices, this would be equivalent of like $28 to $30 for one of those things.
And there are new Tamagotchis. We'll talk about those as well later. I think
there's also like a ton of like in the App Store. I think you can just like get app versions of these. Which
absolutely. Tamagotchi as like a concept, as a brand, has spawned a number of video games and apps on its own, and there have now been a handful of competitors that have shown up, as it kind of seems like the fad is circling back in the last decade, and so now we're getting other people, other things that are kind of getting into that same area. There was a semi recent episode of Side Story, Austin Walker's video game podcast, where they talked a lot about all of these digital pet kind of things that are going around these devices.
This is kind of cool. You know, you can put widgets on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
There's one of these that just runs as a widget on your home screen that has like the buttons to like engage with like via that. So that's kind of cool. But
you had that game last year, the farming on your desktop, right? There was like a little thing guy that just kept going.
I think Missing Norp or whatever. Oh, I also had the farm one. Like there was two. I played two last year, which is wild. But yeah, clickers and all that shit. It was just an idle clicker if you think about it. That's all it was.
And that's a little bit what a Tamagotchi was, although you couldn't idle it too long because it would die. Something from you. So in comes the Pokemon Pikachu, called the Pocket Pikachu in Japan, manufactured by Nintendo, who were a toy company after all. Like they knew their shit. In fact, I did bring these two. These are a series of books, just two of them, that I think are fucking rad. If you like Nintendo and are just interested in Nintendo before they started making video games, these books, The History of Nintendo by Florent Gorges, which I believe are French. These are French published. These books are fucking cool. Like there's one that's like, here's everything from playing cards to Game & Watch, and it's all got really nice photos of stuff and some really nice write-ups. That's really cool to like see the Hanafuda cards that Nintendo made, and the love testers and little electronic shit like that. The Ultra Hand, the Gunpei Yokoi, all that built up stuff. And then the second volume is mostly dedicated to the Game & Watch. I did try to find my Game & Watch. I don't know where my Game & Watch is. I have a Game & Watch of Octopus. That's my favorite Game & Watch game. So I got a copy of that at some point, but I don't know where it is anymore.
Really quick, did you say this already? Is that Pikachu that you have? Is that your original one from like when you had? Oh, cool.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't work anymore. In fact, any viewers can see that there is like an LCD leak in it. So this thing's dead as a doornail. But I've had it forever, and I'm not giving it up now.
I wonder if can you buy a functioning one?
I'm sure you could buy one on eBay. I mean, they take watch batteries, so you could probably make it work as long as it still functions. So the original device that I have here, this is the first version of this thing, had this kind of Game Boy style layout, but it was miniaturized to this Tamagotchi size, and it featured this black and white LCD screen and has this very handy back clip. So it can go on your belt or wherever you need it to go, but just built into the device, pretty handy. And as the name implies, Pikachu is the only creature that would be available for this thing. It can't evolve into Raichu. This is certainly before Pichu was a thing, so it's just Pikachu. Like that's all you get. But for a lot of people, that's all you'd want. The gameplay of this thing was a little bit different than traditional Tamagotchis, though. This device is a pedometer. That's why it makes sound. Like there's a thing going up and down in that. So the idea, which weirdly enough Tamagotchis didn't do, this seems like the most genius thing to me. And I know it's something that the Digimon device that I had at some point. So I imagine that maybe the Tamagotchis got on the plan once the Pokemon Pikachu came out. But because this thing was a pedometer, it really encouraged you to keep it with you. And every 20 steps would give you a watt, W-A-T-T.
The first Pokemon Go.
No. I know what you mean, but no.
You can't buy these, by the way. 45 seems to be the average for like a functioning one, but there's a few that are sealed brand new that are up to 425. So 250 to 425 is what brand new ones get you.
There's a market for everything, isn't there?
There sure is.
So you get these watts for walking every 20 steps, and a watt was a currency that would be used to buy Pikachu presents or would unlock new activities. Of course, like I just demonstrated here, you could just shake it. Like if you were just a lazy piece of shit like me, or you'd be home and be like, oh, I don't have anywhere to walk. Maybe I'll just shake this thing while I'm on the couch, and I'll collect watts and just get the handful of watts I need. Very much eschewing the the usefulness of a pedometer, but what are you going to do sometimes? Uh,
Put it on your dog.
There was a slot like mini game that you could use where you'd wager 5 watts at a time that could get you potentially even more watts. Pokemon very early in its time was totally fine with gambling. Remember the Game Corner had those slot machines too that eventually got taken out of later Pokemon games. Yeah, you got that too?
Yeah, there's a tornado warning happening right now.
Yeah, we just got the horn. What do you want to do about that?
It's telling me to get into the basement.
All right, maybe we should just do that. Maybe we'll talk about Pokemon another time, folks.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, y'all. Chase, love you, buddy. That's awesome.